Today, I want to share with you my personal experience with 5-MeO-DMT, also known as the God molecule. The truths, the realizations that I had are so relevant to what it is that I already talk about on this channel that I felt that it was important to share. First, I'll get into the actual experience a little bit and briefly touch on what that was like, and then I'll get into the realizations that I had, the big takeaways, so to speak. But before I begin, if at any point you find that this information is helpful, then please like and subscribe so more people have access to this video. The experience of dying. Before I get into the actual story, I do want to tell you that the process by which they actually extract this venom from the Sonoran desert toad is fascinating. Also, they call this medicine bufo because of the name of the species of toad, Bufo alvaris. The way that they extract this venom is they milk the toad. It's this sort of white substance, and they milk it onto a glass or mirror, and then they allow that to dry. And then once it dries into a powder, they put it into a pipe and you smoke it. Okay, back to the actual story. There were about 10 to 12 people there, and my brother was actually there with me. And he and I are very close, so we do a lot of things together, and we thought it would be a fun thing to experience. I was doing this under the guidance of a very seasoned shaman who was like a fifth generation shaman within his family. He was from Mexico. He was a beautiful soul. The shaman gave us this very interesting speech that felt very cryptic, but he basically said that this medicine is going to clean out your energetic pipes in your body, and it's going to get rid of a lot of your stuff that's blocking you from being able to realize deeper truths about yourself and about the world. And what he talked about was how this medicine in particular was the most powerful hallucinogenic on the planet. The other thing that he mentioned was that it was going to allow you to understand the essence of what you are. Now, none of this made sense to me at the time. I was doing a lot of meditating, and I was very interested in understanding if some of the mystical experiences that I had been having during my meditations were going to somehow line up with the experience that I had during this medicine journey. After he gave us the speech, he asked us to all set an intention as to what it is that we wanted to experience or get out of the experience. My intention was twofold. I wanted to be able to look behind the veil. Like I said, I had been having a lot of mystical experiences during my meditation, and I wanted some confirmation. The other intention that I had was simply that whatever was meant for my highest good would be brought forward, and that I would experience and realize those things. So I kind of went into this with an open mind and not really knowing what to expect. The shaman was conducting this with each person one at a time, but my brother wanted me to be with him while he was experiencing his medicine journey. So I sat with him, and his experience was beautiful. He laid back and he had his eyes closed the entire time. He would vacillate between this incredible laughter to this deep sobbing. And that was what was happening the entire time. And it was almost like he was on this roller coaster. It was like the medicine was hitting him in waves, and it was beautiful to watch. So I was sort of reassured that this experience was going to be a pleasant one. But boy, was I in for it. It was my turn next. And I sat there again with a very open mind and an open heart, and kind of excited about what was going to happen. So what I did was smoke this venom out of this pipe. As I inhaled, it went into my lungs, and probably halfway through the inhalation, I felt that I was completely gone. I mean, it was that fast. My entire sense of being a person, of being Margot, had disappeared completely. But the minute that I disappeared, what took over was this incredible sense of beingness. I actually know what my body was doing because I asked my brother afterwards. And apparently, I was sort of half laying down, half sitting up. And I did actually open my physical eyes and look at my brother. And the minute that I saw my brother, my awareness, for whatever reason, was fixated on him. And I stared into his eyes so intensely. Now, the feeling that I need to explain to you is that somehow I knew without a doubt that I had died. Now, the reason why this is strange is because why would I know this unless it was something that I had experienced before? And I promise you that I have, because without a doubt, I knew that this is what happens when I die. This is what's going to happen when I die. We completely lose and forget even that we are or had a physical body. And yet I'm still there. I'm still aware of being me. Now, this death experience was so incredibly profound because if my body and my awareness of having a body is not even there, it's like it's not even on my radar. If that's not there, then who is this one that is still there? And that's me. That was the real me. So this experience gave me this firsthand understanding of what it is that I really am, which was that pure awareness. Now, here's the really weird part. I was not thinking. There was zero thinking happening. There was also zero feeling. I wasn't feeling, I wasn't thinking. I was just aware. That's it. I was just aware. And it was so strange. But the only thing that I knew was that this was me. This was really me. Why awareness is paramount. The only reason why we ever know that we've experienced something is because we're aware of it. I mean, there's no other way that we could ever know that we've been there. So that awareness of being is what we really are. That is the true self. Now, the reason why 5-MeO-DMT was so profound was because all of the other stuff had completely dropped away, and there was nothing left but that awareness of being, which was why I was so clearly able to realize that that is what I am, because there was nothing else to realize. Awareness is such a funny thing. You know, we take it for granted, and yet without it, what good is our life? I mean, really think about that. What would we ever experience without awareness, without consciousness, without that knowing that you're there experiencing something? That experience of dying during Bufo was such a beautiful reminder to me that there's really nothing to be afraid of when it comes to death, because that is what is going to happen when I die. You know, people are so afraid of dying. It's probably the thing that everyone is the most afraid of. I mean, imagine if you're walking down the street and you're thinking about all your problems. Maybe you don't have enough money. Maybe your kids are giving you problems, your partner, your job sucks, your life sucks, you hate yourself, you hate your nose, you hate your hair, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, somebody walks up to you with a gun and they point it at your head. Now, the last thing that you're going to care about is all of your problems. The only thing you're going to care about is that you don't want to die, right? So that's really the number one fear, is fear of death. Now, if we can transcend that, then we can really let go of all of the things that fall below that. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because if we're going to die, and we're actually going to die completely, meaning our consciousness is going to die, for all you materialists out there who believe that consciousness is just something that's part of the mind, then it's not going to really matter anyway, because we're not going to have the awareness of dying. We're just going to die and we'll be gone. But if we actually die and the physical body dies, but our consciousness goes on, then how incredible is that experience going to be? I mean, it's going to be like no other experience that we ever get to experience. It's a once in a lifetime experience. So we can begin to let go of even the fear of dying. And this is why psychedelics can be an incredible tool, because they give you a glimpse of the truth. They give you a taste of what's to come. Ego dissolution. The ego is our sense of being a separate self. It's that simple. The minute that we feel that we're separate from all that is, then we have this feeling of a personal self. We feel that we're a body. We have our own personal thoughts, our own personal feelings, our own likes and dislikes. And all of that constitutes this feeling of having and being the personal self. Our mind is really at the core of this sense of a personal self. It is the very thing that is the storage unit for all of our past conditioning. It is what allows us to identify with this idea of a personal self. What was so incredibly powerful about this experience with Bufo was that when my thinking was completely gone, and I do mean gone, I was just that silent watcher. Because I had no thoughts, I also didn't feel any emotion. And yet I so deeply felt that I was still me. But this me had no container. I had no sense of a body, so I had no sense of being separate from anything. And it was very strange. I couldn't place where I was spatially. I also absolutely had no sense of time. And even though this experience was strange, it was also very familiar to me. Somehow, I didn't feel out of sorts just being pure awareness. I didn't feel that something was missing because I couldn't think or feel anything. I was very comfortable being in this state of being. What I found to be so interesting about this experience was that it completely destroyed, it completely ripped away everything, every part of me that I thought was me. It was gone in a matter of seconds, in half of an inhale. It was completely gone. And that has never left me. That understanding of what I am is not this. It's not my thoughts. It's not my emotions. It's not any of the things that I'm looking at. It is that beingness. It is that awareness. And that's it. I remember when I actually came out of this experience, it doesn't last very long. I think it's probably 10 to 15, 20 minutes at the most. And I remember afterwards thinking, is that me? Is that all that I am? I can't believe that all that I am is awareness. There was almost something kind of sad about it. I almost thought, oh, that's disappointing. I kind of like being me. I kind of like being a body and having certain thoughts and preferences and likes and dislikes and emotions and making things and doing things. And all of that wasn't really me. And it was kind of hard to stomach that at first because I didn't like the idea that I was just this formless beingness. There was something weird about that. It felt strange and empty. But now I see how beautiful it is because I see that without that awareness, there's nothing. Non-judgment. I wanted to spare you with some of the details of the actual experience, but I'll quickly go over them because sometimes I think this almost bores people. It's like when someone tells you the dream that they had the night before. It's never that interesting. The general feeling was that I was watching my brother so intensely, and I just locked eyes with him the entire time. And I was actually watching him die and be reborn. It was very strange. And the other thing that I was watching was some of the colors that I saw were not colors that I've ever seen in the earth plane. The hues, the colors were so vibrant. And I was seeing around me, I was seeing the trees and I was seeing the actual place that I was sitting outside. And I was looking at the shaman. And again, I was just watching everything, being, that pure awareness. And that was it. It was a strange realm where it was very much the realm of earth and where I was sitting, but it was distorted. It felt almost like even when I was looking at the people, the shaman or my brother, I was almost seeing them in the astral or I was seeing through them. So as I started to sober up and have this sense that I needed to come back into my body, and I was beginning to be aware that I even had a body, but I also realized that I wasn't coming back. And that was very concerning to me. There was this aspect of myself, my higher self, that knew that I needed to tell the shaman that he needed to bring me back into my body and he needed to do it fast. So I took all of my will, and it took so much of my strength and power to be able to speak when I was in that state. But somehow I mustered up enough energy and I grabbed him by the arm and I looked at him in the eyes and I said, you need to bring me back. And I remember it came from this very deep place inside, and my voice was low and it was loud. And I looked at my brother and I remember seeing the look on his face was just sheer terror. And I could see that he was kind of panicking. And the shaman, being as seasoned as he was, stayed really calm. And I remember just locking eyes with him because it was the only thing that I knew was going to ground me back in my body. Then I remember telling him that he gave me too much. And I really started to panic because I said, "You have to bring me back now because I'm not going to come back if you don't." I was very aware that I was so out of my body. I was very aware that I had died. The next thing he did was he started to spray water on my face and flick me with water, and he brought out all these feathers and started fanning me, and the rattle came out closer to my head. He was doing all these things to ground me back into my body. And it worked. And I finally came back. And when I came back and I was fully sober, the thing that I noticed was that I didn't feel any separation from anyone. I felt so much love, so much unity, so much oneness with all of the people around me. There was literally nothing that made me feel that I was separate from them. It was almost like I was staring into my mom or my dad's eyes, or that everyone was my brother and my sister. I mean, it was the most incredibly beautiful experience to feel that much love for people that I really wasn't close to. My brother experienced the same thing. The reason why I was able to experience this was because my ability to judge was gone. When we let go of all judgment, and I do mean completely let go of it, what happens is that love rushes in. And I don't mean that to sound corny, but it really does, because that is what is always there. That is what is always around us, is that beautiful presence, that love, that wisdom, that consciousness. That is all that there is. And when we cease to judge, then we experience no separation. Why I found this to be so exciting was that about a year before my Bufo experience, I had an incredibly mystical experience during a meditation. And I felt completely united with all that is. I felt this oneness with everything. And in that moment, what I realized was that judgment is the fastest way to separation. That was the big realization about that moment, was that if I can stay in a state of non-judgment, then I don't feel separate from anything. It's our judgment that separates us. And our true self doesn't judge, it just watches. It's just aware. It's just being. It's not doing anything other than that. I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that any of you who are interested in taking Bufo do proceed with caution. These are very, very powerful medicines, and they should be done under the guidance of someone who really knows what they're doing. That said, they are a wonderful glimpse into truth and into allowing us to actually realize things by experiencing them firsthand. I love you all so much. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.